Okay. Ooh. Hi. All right, cool. Yeah, I think we can get started. So, hello. I'm Chipzel, and this talk is called Tell Me What to Feel. So I am here with 14 years experience in the video games industry. Prior to that, I was releasing music solo, traveling all over the world, playing shows since I was 17 years old. I've been making chiptune music with a Nintendo Game Boy since I was 16. And I actually learned to compose music with a Nintendo Game Boy, which is like a bizarre thing. The first game that I was ever involved in was Super Hexagon. I don't know if you have been in the arcade section, but I believe it's there. It's amazing, you should check it out. Super Hexagon had like amazing success, and it's kind of something of a cult classic now. It was one of the initial indie boom classics of around 2012 that kicked off the success of indie games as a whole, so like around the time of like Fez and all that kind of stuff. And since then, I have worked with Brace Yourself Games on the DLC editions of Crypto the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule with Nintendo. I have worked with Valve on a music pack for Counter-Strike, River City Girls, Frog Fractions, Game of the Decade Edition, which is another cult classic, and Just Shapes and Beats, which is apparently every kid's favorite game according to my TikTok comments. And my personal favorite, Dicey Dungeons. Yay! So, thank you. Yeah, so overall, I generally kind of struggle to like talk about my work. I don't really like to sell myself too hard. I'm just so humble. And as a person, I kind of just like to meet people and go off their vibe and just sort of go from there. And that's kind of how I've navigated the industry since I entered it. I am extremely proud of my work, and it's not that I don't want to try and sell myself, it's just that I like the work to speak for itself. And I am also a Leo Venus, so I like other people to do it for me. So this one at the top says, this one is making me feel like I have burned all my cash at the casino, and I'm getting a full jackpot with my last 2 cents. And I mean, that is a better brief for Dicey Dungeons than I could have written. And the fact that this comes from a player as well just like really resonates, and it makes me realize that like I'm actually really good at my job. And that's amazing after like years of imposter syndrome and kind of feeling like I just stumbled into the industry as opposed to actually being like worthy of being here. What is that? Am I being haunted? Overall, though, I know that my work has a strong sonic identity, and I am best known for musical works that induce panic. This is the creative process. This is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She is an actress and a screenwriter, and this is her response when she was asked about the creative process. And I have yet to find a better answer for the question. She encapsulates it perfectly as panic, panic, hope. And that's what you hear in my work. It's the blank page, it's everything that's just thrown onto the canvas, and then it's like dissected, it's analyzed, it's ripped apart, it's like broken down, put back together, and it's refined until we find hope. The identity of my work is the embodiment of fear, longing, excitement, hope, yearning, and cool, groovy sounds with a lot of character, obviously. If we could play the video soon, just 1 second. A big part of this is my choice of tools. This is LSDJ, a tracker for the Nintendo Game Boy. It's a banger, obviously. That's my track, Shaman, and it's on Bandcamp. Please go buy it, check it out on Spotify, wherever you get your music from. So, Chiptune made me brave. Accessible tools, real community, maximum heart. Music that is made with LSDJ is known as chiptune music, and it made me brave. But what is it? Chiptune is an online movement of people that make, sorry, too fast. Chiptune is an online movement of people that make music and art with retro consoles. The ethos centers around creating within the limitations of the machine and pushing the constraints. As a movement, it shares DNA with any scene that is born from limitation and defiance. At its core, it is grassroots, it is anarchist, it is anti-commercial, it is anti-imperial, and it is focused entirely on the creation and the joy of the juxtaposition of huge sounds from micro machines. It is making something from nothing as an act of resistance. It is repurposing discarded technology into something new. And most importantly for me, when I was 16, it was accessible. I was able to get a Game Boy for £20 off of eBay. Digital audio workstations are expensive. And I was determined to make music myself. I wanted to do the whole arrangement of electronic music. And it was also portable, so it meant that I could bring it anywhere. And I would sit on the bus, you know, like going to school with my Game Boy and my big, like, huge pink and white headphones. And I was that little antsy, like, MySpace kid with big hair, big feelings, and a Game Boy as my weapon. And it served me very well. It was a weapon, and it was also a shield at the same time. And it gave me a way to communicate my big feelings in a healthier way. It allowed me to travel the world and meet loads of like-minded people who were into art and music, and it really made me feel seen, and it made me feel safe. And it shaped my late teens into something that was hopeful, and it motivated me to stay curious, to keep learning, to keep seeking out things and people that inspired me. As a tool, LSDJ is a homebrew software made by Swedish engineer Johan Kotlinski. There is a learning curve that is mostly just wrapping your head around the button presses, because at the end of the day, it's a Game Boy, you have a D-pad, you have B and A, and select and start, and you have to make a full track just with those buttons. But as a workflow, it is incredibly efficient in its design, despite the limitations, because it allows for a synergy with the machine, where you can easily enter this flow state that, in my opinion, is vital to the creative process. That breaking down, refining, analyzing, and finding hope in every step is so fast, and to the point where I barely recall the process of some of my best works. My favorite thing about chiptune, though, is that it is anarchist at its core. When the scene's culture comes under central control online, which has happened a few times, it breaks and it has to rebuild itself. And I have witnessed multiple rebirths in my time. Chiptune is defiant, and it doesn't respect authoritative figures. And regardless of what happens to the community, the people continue to create regardless. The community survives by its strongest bonds. Chiptune has taught me that the best work with the strongest identity is made from defiant communities with accessible tools and maximum heart. Just like video games. And video games made me gay. Yeah. Thank you. Resistance through collective expression. The video games community as a collective cares deeply about self-expression. Most successful indie games have a strong identity, in my opinion, because of that self-expression and the safety that the community provides, which allows all of us to feel. That safety in the community and that collective joy for self-expression is what gave me the courage to come out at 28, even though the signs were there. And I'll not lie, it was really scary. Like, I didn't know what that could mean for me. I had existed in these spaces for so long. I knew people. I didn't know if it was going to change my relationship with them. I didn't know if people would treat me different. I didn't know if it was going to mean that, like, it would be harder to form connections. But, you know, overall, I did learn that those people were never worth my time, even if they had a problem with it, you know? But what I didn't expect was to understand myself and my own work a lot more from coming out. Suddenly, all that yearning and the longing that we were talking about in the creative process starts to make sense. Maybe it was gay panic, gay hope. I've been in the industry long enough to have witnessed the fight to respect and honor self-expression, and the determination for the video games community to be a safe place for everyone. We have fought hard to prove that video games are art. And through it, indie games have revolutionized how we view successful games. I have also been in the industry long enough to see those same voices be shut down and silenced, or at least the attempt to. I was still quite young when I witnessed Gamergate happen in real time. I wasn't in the industry very long before Gamergate just like blew up. And I watched the devastating effects of a culture war so aggressive in its hatred of women and anyone other that I started to develop a fear that wasn't there before. This movement was ruthless in its desire to take and hold power that it eventually found its way to the White House. I watched it destroy the lives of women who came before me in the industry, or at least the attempt to. I have witnessed a collective of passionate makers and creators, musicians, artists, coders, speakers, and people who care deeply about this industry and what it means to try again to fight against what was coming. And here we are, 12 years later, witnessing the global effects of an orchestrated division and a witch hunt of a community that believed in inclusivity, accessibility, and mutual aid. I have been here long enough to have witnessed our online spaces be destroyed and bought by the world's richest crybaby. Since I entered, the video games industry has been notoriously active on Twitter for all of this. We had a community online that was accessible. It allowed everyone to be a part of the conversation. Everybody had a voice. There was no central authority, and you had your own page. You could promote your own work. It kept us all in check, gave us a support network, or a dog pile of hatred if you said something stupid. It was far from perfect, but it felt like it was our own like pub, you know, the public square, and we could just like fight it out on the regular. While games events like GDC were completely inaccessible and constantly pricing people out of the culture, you could always find your people on Twitter. It was a space where we connected, we fought with each other, we shared our work, and we got a sense of who we all were in order to figure out who our people were, like who shared our values, who was engaged in what we were doing, who could we meld with and maybe work with to make something beautiful together. Through discourse and critical analysis on a daily basis, we could call out bad faith actors. We had humor as our strongest unifier. And we were growing together until we all witnessed the forced breakage of that community under central control and the purchase and the demise of the public square. Identity and the erasure of culture. This land grab and takeover of Twitter is just another example of a community breaking under central control and authority. It is the intentional colonizing of a space that was united against the ruling class. It was a space that understood class consciousness and spent every day complaining about something bad that was happening in the world, and it was exhausting, but it was real. It was real people talking about real events in real time. And it was a place where people cared very, very deeply. And this came with like critical thought, language, and theory that like pushed all of us to try to be better for each other, to work with each other better, to develop our knowledge and understanding of the world and each other for each other. And Twitter is not the only problem. We also have Meta that is blocking and shadow banning communities that they don't agree with. We also have Meta now pushing wearable surveillance technology that allows us to secretly record everyone and everything without their consent. We have a push for digital ID in the UK and a population that has no idea what it is in for and how dangerous that could be for the future. For me to go on Blue Sky right now, if I don't have a VPN, I can't see your direct messages because I have to upload my passport to prove that I'm over 18. It is ridiculous. Privacy is becoming a luxury very quickly, and it is one that most of us cannot afford since we are all so reliant on these platforms to promote ourselves and our work, to stay in touch, to stay employed, and connect with each other in our community around the world. This setup is breaking. We have come so far in this direction that it is getting harder to remember a way out. We are witnessing the removal and the erasure of safe spaces for those who need it the most. We are witnessing the push for a divided and distracted world. It feels like right now there is a strong incentive to remove safety overall and to keep everyone in a state of fear and confusion. It is the attempt to silence and replace cultures that are loud, defiant, critical, and relentlessly creative. So, behind this alias of Chipzel, my name is Neve. I was born in the north of Ireland into a community where identity pride meant divide. Well, even my name is political because it's an Irish name, and it's written in Irish. It's Niamh, and that really confuses people. The Irish language was banned under British rule and authority. The divide is mistakenly known as a religious one, but of Catholic and Protestant, but it is more on point to say that it is Irish versus British. It is imperialism versus identity. The Irish soul is defiant in nature because it has to be. The majority of Ireland's existence has been a constant battle of survival. Its history is full of devastation, famine, death, fear, and oppression. And this only emboldens what defines it. The Irish identity is held and forever immortalized by its culture through poetry, art, music, and the defiance that is thread through all of it. And by fuck, we will use whatever we have available to pour the depths of ourselves into art and music so that it can stand the test of time, just in case we don't. There's inherent skepticism to modern tools and modern technology in the Irish identity. And the Irish way has always been that the tools are fine as they are, they just need sharpened. There was very little representation of my own voice when I was growing up in the media, especially in Northern Ireland. So this accent that you hear, it's the north of Ireland. We only really heard our accents on the news, and our television was British broadcasting. So the local news was usually about bombs, killings, the struggle for peace, and the emphasis of a society in turmoil and divide. It makes a generation of people in the north feel isolation, fear, and shame of who they are and where they come from. The Irish language has been dying across the island of Ireland from years of repression, but something very interesting is happening right now. The Irish language is coming back with a vengeance, and the younger generations are starting to speak it in an act of defiance. So, AI. Let's talk about language. AI is a large language model, and AI is a tool. As the Canadian author Naomi Klein puts it to Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, you ingested the entire written output of human civilization without consent, without compensation, and without credit, to build a system whose primary commercial application is eliminating the jobs of the people whose work you consumed. You are not liberating human creativity. You are strip mining it and selling it back at a markup while calling the theft training data. AI is our own humanity, our own history, our stories, our identities, mutated, stripped down, put back together, and presented as the answer to a failing system. We are in the age of digital censorship and modern imperialism and land grabbing in an effort to remove our identities, our communities, our truth, and our freedom to exist as we are. We are the ones that curated the digital age. We are the identity of the digital landscape. And we're supposed to be obsolete? How does that make you feel? It would be all too convenient to have a tool that everyone went to tell them how to feel in a time of global instability, cultural divide, and political unrest. It would be even more convenient to have that tool be under central authority. Every time that we choose to use AI, are we breaking a human connection? Why is it easier to message a robot than it is to talk to a human? What do we need to look at in ourselves to understand why this is the direction that we have set ourselves on? Why do we want so desperately to replace art, the thing that gives us our identity, the thing that gives us hope? When we're grieving, when we're mourning, when we're scared, when we're lost, when we're in love and we're joyful, when we're elated, the one thing that we channel all of our humanity into in an attempt to speak to each other at a core level that we all understand. Art is our truest connection to each other. How have we gone so astray to now be in a place where people are just like, I could just use AI for this instead of doing anything with all these uncomfortable feelings? Is that not the whole point of art? Humans are messy, and that's okay. This relentless pursuit of perfection is so boring. I don't care what time you wake up. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many meetings you have. You know, all this kind of like the TikTok trends of people getting up at like 4 a.m. and they're in the gym and then like, I don't know, they do like 16 different things before breakfast. It's wild. This ruling class are so dull. Working ourselves to the bone should not be glorified, and measuring our success against our productivity output is getting us nowhere. It is only distracting us from the point, and it is burning us out. Our language is a tool. Our creativity is a language. Language is forever evolving, and like the younger generations in Ireland, I am learning Irish in an attempt to further find my identity and my clan, my chosen people. And in the words of Tommy Tiernan, who is a famous Irish comedian, the English language is a brick wall between me and you, and fuck is my chisel. We are breaking down existing structures in language, in systems, in communications and cultures, and we, unfortunately, are the ones that are going to have to rebuild it. I can't tell you what to feel. I can try to tell you what to do, and I do think that it's quite simple. We create, we exist, be visible, even if you feel small, be loud, communicate. Making something from nothing under these conditions is an act of defiance in itself. Sharpen your tools. Keep learning, keep connecting, keep learning from each other. Perfection does not create a strong identity in your work. The robot is trying to be like you. Why are you trying to be like the robot? Own your humanity. Reject the pursuit of perfection. Be messy. Can you move the slide down, please? Yes. Own your humanity. Be messy. The greatest thinkers and makers are all a little bit delusional, and we need to be delusionally optimistic for this to work. We need to collectively find hope in the panic. The conversation doesn't end there. You can find me on these socials until they break as well. Gormagiv, thank you all in Irish, thank you. And you can speak with me after. I'm going to mic drop and leave now. Thank you so much.